Imagine standing outside 100,000 years ago with nothing but animal skins, a stone tool, and a fire you desperately need to keep alive. There is no roof above you, no glass in the windows, no heater, no air conditioner, no weather forecast telling you a storm is coming. Above your head, the sky is changing. The wind is rising, the temperature is falling, and somewhere beyond the horizon, a storm is moving toward you. If you make the wrong decision tonight, you don't wake up tomorrow. This was the world our ancestors inherited. For almost all of human history, survival was not simply a battle against hunger, predators, or rival groups. It was a battle against the atmosphere itself. Heat could kill you. Cold could kill you. Rain could destroy your shelter. Drought could erase your food supply. A sudden storm could turn a safe river into a wall of water. And yet, somehow, humans spread from Africa into environments that seemed completely unsuitable for us. We crossed deserts. We entered frozen landscapes. We survived tropical storms. We climbed mountains where oxygen became scarce. We reached places where winter could last for months. And the strange part is that humans were never physically designed for most of these environments. A polar bear walks into freezing water and its body is prepared for it. A camel can survive extraordinary heat with adaptations humans simply don't possess. A seal can spend hours in icy oceans. Humans have none of these natural advantages. Our bodies are strangely vulnerable. So how did we do it? The answer begins with something that doesn't look like an evolutionary superpower at all. We learned how to change the world around us. Instead of growing thick fur, we made clothing. Instead of developing natural insulation, we built shelters. Instead of waiting for the sun to return, we created fire. And instead of adapting one body to every environment, we adapted our behavior. That difference changed everything. Imagine an early human group walking across an open landscape as the temperature falls. The wind cuts through their skin. Children move closer to adults. The ground becomes hard with frost. There is nowhere to hide. Then someone finds dry wood. A spark appears. For a moment, nothing happens. Then a tiny flame catches. The group gathers around it. The same species that could freeze to death outside has suddenly created a pocket of summer in the middle of winter. Fire was more than warmth. It was portable climate control. It gave humans something evolution had never given us naturally: the ability to manufacture an environment. And once humans discovered that principle, the possibilities became enormous. But fire alone wasn't enough. Cold has a cruel way of finding every weakness. Imagine sleeping outdoors during an ice age winter. The air is below freezing. Your body spends energy simply maintaining its core temperature. You wrap yourself in hides. You press against other people for warmth, but every hour your body is losing heat. Eventually, you realize something terrifying. The cold doesn't need to attack you. It only needs to continue. This is why shelter became one of humanity's greatest inventions. A cave, a depression in the ground, a structure made from branches, animal hides stretched over a frame, snow packed into walls. Each solution created a small artificial world where the weather outside became less powerful. Archaeological evidence shows that humans repeatedly occupied caves and constructed shelters in challenging environments. Some ancient sites contain hearths, tools, animal remains, and other evidence suggesting that people weren't simply passing through. They were living there. And this reveals something important about human evolution. We didn't conquer nature by becoming stronger than it. We survived by becoming better at negotiating with it. But cold was only one enemy. Because on the other side of the planet, another problem was waiting: heat. Extreme heat can be just as deadly as freezing temperatures. Step into a desert at midday. There may be no shade for kilometers. The ground radiates heat. The air is dry. Your body begins losing water. Every movement becomes expensive. The faster you move, the more heat you generate. Eventually, survival becomes a race between your body and the sun. Yet humans entered deserts. They learned where water existed. They learned how to travel during cooler hours. They created clothing that protected the skin from sunlight. They built shelters that turned unbearable heat into tolerable shade. And perhaps most importantly, they learned to read the landscape. A dry riverbed could contain underground water. A particular plant could indicate moisture. Animal tracks could lead toward a hidden source. Clouds could signal distant rainfall. The desert was not empty. It was a puzzle. Humans survived by learning how to solve it. But then came a problem even more unpredictable: storms. Imagine living thousands of years ago beside a river. The sky is darkening. The air becomes strangely still. Birds disappear. The river begins rising. You have no idea whether the storm will pass in an hour or turn into a disaster. Then lightning tears across the sky. Thunder shakes the ground. Rain falls so heavily that the landscape seems to disappear. The river rises another meter, then another, and suddenly the place where your family slept yesterday is underwater. Weather could erase an entire settlement in a single night. This is one reason rivers became both gifts and dangers. They provided drinking water, fish, fertile soil, transportation, but they could also flood. Civilizations eventually learned to build around this contradiction. The Nile gave ancient Egypt extraordinary agricultural wealth, but its floods had to be understood and managed. The great civilizations of Mesopotamia developed between the Tigris and Euphrates, where irrigation transformed dry landscapes into productive farmland. In South and East Asia, monsoon patterns became fundamental to agriculture and civilization. Weather was no longer simply something humans survived. It became something entire societies had to organize themselves around. Calendars emerged partly because people needed to predict seasonal cycles. Farmers needed to know when to plant, when to harvest, when rivers would rise, when rains would arrive. A mistake could mean an empty granary, and an empty granary could mean death. This is where weather begins to shape civilization itself. Imagine two villages. One has predictable rainfall. The other experiences repeated drought. The first village grows. More children survive. More food can be stored. Specialists appear. Builders, potters, metalworkers, soldiers, priests. The settlement becomes a town. The town becomes a city. The second village struggles. People leave. Families migrate. Resources become scarce. Conflict increases. The difference between the two societies may begin with something as invisible as rainfall. And this pattern repeated throughout human history. Climate never acted alone. Humans made decisions. But climate changed the choices available. Then something happened that made the weather even more powerful. Humans began migrating because of it. Imagine a region that has supported your family for generations. The rivers are familiar. The animals are familiar. The mountains are familiar. Then rainfall begins declining. One bad year becomes two. Two becomes five. The grass disappears. Animals move elsewhere. People begin traveling farther to find food. Eventually, staying becomes dangerous. So a family packs what it can carry. They leave. They don't know that centuries later, historians may describe their movement as a migration caused partly by climate. To them, it was simply survival. Climate change has probably influenced human movement repeatedly throughout our history. Periods of drought could make previously habitable regions difficult to live in. Periods of greater rainfall could open new routes across landscapes that had previously been barriers. The planet itself sometimes created highways, and sometimes it built walls. But the most dramatic weather transformation may have happened during the Ice Age. Imagine Earth thousands of years ago. Massive glaciers cover huge parts of North America and Northern Europe. Sea levels are far lower than today because enormous quantities of water are trapped in ice. The landscapes familiar to us look completely different. Animals such as mammoths, woolly rhinoceroses, and giant deer move across cold grasslands. Humans follow them. For generations, people learn how to survive at the edge of the frozen world. They make tailored clothing. They construct shelters. They preserve food. They develop hunting strategies. They learn which animals migrate and when. The weather has become an instructor, and humans are learning quickly, but then the climate changes again. The glaciers begin retreating. Temperatures rise. Forests expand. Grasslands change. Animals move. Coastlines shift. Human groups that had adapted to the Ice Age suddenly face a different world. And this is where the story gets strange. The same climate change that destroyed some environments also created opportunities elsewhere. Human history isn't simply a story of climate making life harder. Sometimes environmental change opened doors. New plants became available. New animals appeared in different regions. New routes became possible. Entire landscapes transformed. Humanity didn't simply survive climate change. It repeatedly reorganized itself around it. And this ability to reorganize may be one of the deepest secrets of our species. We are not specialists in one environment. We are specialists in adaptation. Give us cold, and we invent insulation. Give us heat, and we invent shade. Give us darkness, and we create fire. Give us floods, and we build away from rivers or learn to control them. Give us drought, and we search for water. Give us unpredictable seasons, and we create calendars. The weather changes. Human behavior changes with it. But there is a limit. For most of history, humans could move when conditions became unbearable. Today, billions of people cannot simply walk away. Cities contain millions. Agriculture depends on stable seasons. Infrastructure is built around coastlines and rivers. Entire economies depend on predictable weather. The same species that once escaped drought by walking to another valley now lives in enormous cities surrounded by concrete, roads, reservoirs, power grids, and food supply chains. Our technology has made us more powerful, but it has also made us more dependent on complex systems. A hunter can follow the animals. A modern city cannot simply follow the climate, and this creates a new chapter in the ancient story. For hundreds of thousands of years, weather shaped humans. Now humans are shaping the climate itself. The scale is difficult to comprehend. A small group around a fire could alter its immediate environment. A farming village could reshape a valley. A civilization could redirect rivers. An industrial society could transform the atmosphere. The process happened gradually, generation after generation, until the species that once feared every storm became capable of changing the conditions under which storms, droughts, and heat waves occur. That is the paradox. Our ancestors spent their lives trying to survive the weather. We became powerful enough to influence the system that creates it. And yet, despite all our machines, satellites, buildings, and forecasts, there are still moments when nature reminds us how small we are. A hurricane forms over warm water and grows larger than a city. A heat wave settles over a continent. A drought stretches across years. A flood turns roads into rivers. A wildfire crosses landscapes faster than people can escape. For a few hours, the illusion of control disappears. The skyscrapers become shelters. The roads become obstacles. The technology becomes fragile. And suddenly, beneath the clothes and buildings and machines, we are the same animal that once gathered around a fire during an ice age night. Still breathing, still vulnerable, still watching the sky. That may be the most important thing weather has taught humanity. We never defeated nature. We learned to live between its extremes. Every roof above your head is an answer to rain. Every wall is an answer to wind. Every coat is an answer to cold. Every air conditioner is an answer to heat. Every calendar is an attempt to understand time. Every weather forecast is an attempt to see tomorrow before it arrives. Civilization itself can be viewed as one enormous collection of answers to an ancient question. How do we survive what the planet does next? And yet the question remains, because tomorrow's weather is always waiting beyond the horizon. Our ancestors could not see the storm coming. They could only feel the wind change. We have satellites in space. We have supercomputers. We can watch hurricanes form thousands of kilometers away. We can measure temperature changes across the planet. We can predict storms days in advance. And still, when the sky becomes black and thunder rolls across the horizon, something ancient happens inside us. We look up. For a moment, we stop thinking about civilization. We stop thinking about money. We stop thinking about technology. And we remember something our ancestors knew every day. The world is bigger than us. The atmosphere above your head is part of a planetary system that existed billions of years before you were born. The wind moving past your window may have traveled across an ocean. The rain falling on your roof may have begun as water evaporating thousands of kilometers away. The weather surrounding you connects you to forests, oceans, deserts, glaciers, and clouds across an entire planet. You are not standing outside nature. You are inside it. And perhaps the strangest realization is this. Your ancestors survived because they learned to adapt to a changing world. That same challenge has never disappeared. The temperature changes, the winds shift, the rivers rise, the seasons move, the planet keeps changing, and humans keep responding. For hundreds of thousands of years, the weather pushed our species forward. It drove us from one landscape to another. It forced us to invent. It forced us to cooperate. It forced us to become clever enough to survive environments our bodies were never built for. Every shelter, every fire, every piece of clothing, every farm, every city, every migration, every civilization. All of them carry traces of that ancient struggle. The struggle against a sky we could never control. And tonight, when you step outside and feel the temperature against your skin, it may seem like ordinary weather. But it's not ordinary. You are experiencing the same force that shaped your ancestors long before history had a name. The same cold that once drove humans toward fire. The same rain that fed the first crops. The same drought that emptied ancient valleys. The same storms that frightened people who had no forecast, no radar, and no warning. And yet here you are, inside a building, under a roof, protected by technologies invented across thousands of generations. A fragile human being living inside an artificial world built to keep the planet outside at a distance. But the planet is still there, beyond the glass, beyond the walls, waiting. And perhaps that is the quiet truth hidden inside every weather forecast. We spend our lives building places where we can forget how powerful nature is. Then, every once in a while, the wind rises, the temperature falls, lightning crosses the sky, and for a few seconds, we look upward and remember. We were never the strongest creatures on Earth. We simply became very good at surviving. And the next time the weather changes, remember that your entire species began with people who looked at the same sky, felt the same cold, feared the same storms, and somehow decided to keep going. They survived the night, then another, until their descendants inherited a world they had never imagined. A world where humans could predict the storm before it arrived. A world where we could cross oceans in hours. A world where we could build cities beneath the desert sun. A world where we could live through winters that would once have been impossible. But underneath all of it, the ancient bargain remains. The planet gives us a narrow space in which life is possible. And every generation must learn how to live inside it.